Welcome to Your Town. I'm Chef Wendy Brodie with Art of Food, and I have a very special guest today, a friend as well. She's an author and a teacher, but a co-author of a wonderful series called Quickly the Magic Spatula. And so it really relates very well to the food world. Welcome, Jeryl. Great to have you. Jeryl Abelmann.
Thank you, Wendy. It's wonderful to be here.
Tell me all about your books and the story, how Quickly became real.
Well, we are very lucky because Quickly is appearing today, right here on the table. I taught school for many years, over 30 years, elementary school, and I taught my students how to write children's books and how to write ABC books, and I love doing that. And my dream when I retired was to become an author. And when I did retire, I thought, well, now I'm going to fulfill this dream, but I had no idea how. Where do you start?
The expert doesn't know. That's funny.
It is true. Because
it is true.
Where do you start? What do you do? How do you have a character? What do you do? So I didn't know. And I had a visit from my wonderful, amazing cousin, Nancy Abelmann. And she's an author, professor at Champaign-Urbana, Illinois. And we were sitting at the kitchen. And I said, Nancy, I really want to write a children's book, and I just don't know how. How to start? And she said, Jer, look at your kitchen wall. And on my wall hung Quickly, just like you see it here.
Wow.
And with the name, and she said, that's your story. And I said, Nancy, you're right. Now the question is, how to Quickly get on my wall, right?
Yeah.
And that is the story of the first book, Quickly, the Magic Spatula.
I'll just hold this
Thank
up.
you.
So.
Thank you for doing that.
Oh, I love my first copy. I treasure it.
Thank you. Well, what happened was when we were very little, my brother and I, and it's a true story. He was 4 years old. My mother made pancakes every single Sunday morning, dressed to the nines, looking just perfect 50s with the big skirt and the red shoes, and everyone in the neighborhood.
High heels or not?
High heels, of course, absolutely. You didn't dare not wear high heels. And all of our uncles and aunts would come, and my mom would make pancakes for breakfast on Sundays. That was our routine. And one Sunday morning, and she always, as you know, as a chef, had every single thing organized perfectly before she started cooking. On this particular Sunday morning, the pancakes were hot on the griddle, and she had forgotten the spatula. And she said to my 4-year-old brother, Jeffrey, get me the spatula, quickly. And he went running across the kitchen, opened the drawer, got the spatula out, and came running back and said, here, Mommy, here's Quickly.
Aww.
And from that moment, the spatula was named Quickly.
How wonderful.
Which
touching.
It's such a simple story, but it really is touching because at that moment, it was a spatula and named Quickly. But as we grow older and we realize how amazing and how precious these artifacts are and what they mean to us, that was the beginning of Quickly.
I love too your sensitivity and appreciation of family traditions, and that just kind of got me in the heart too, how you're offering someone to create a tradition for their family. But
that's really the message of the book.
Yeah.
It's to value your family history, and cooking with your family is in the kitchen. That's where the memories start.
Isn't that true?
And the art of food.
Yes.
There you have it.
Yes.
And it's just, we're all so busy in this time. Our cell phones and texts, and we have to stop and realize, write down those family stories because they're the treasures.
I totally agree. And besides quickly being very familiar with pancakes, I think you need to share what quickly is done in the kitchen and who he's rubbed shoulders with.
Well, that was really fun, and that's really where you come into the picture. Our first book, won many awards, and Moonbeam Children's Book Award, which is quite an amazing, thank you, an amazing honor. And then
among a whole list, but we'll get to that.
And I have a co-author. Miriam Kronish, of course, is my co-author, and she and I started writing quickly together. I started, but then I realized it would be so much more fun to have a co-author. And Miriam and I have an amazing history. She was the principal of our sons when they were 5 and 7. They have their own children now. And we met in Needham, Massachusetts, which is about 20 minutes outside of Boston. That's where we lived. And Miriam was their principal. And then she became my friend. And then she became my boss. And I worked for her and with her. Then she became my mentor. And there's no one in the world better than as a co-author than she is. And I called her up and I said, you know, I'm writing this book. I explained it to her, and I said, but I think it would be so much more fun if you help me, because being an author is very lonely. It really is. You know, you sit there all day and you write, or your hours. And she said, I'm in. And that's how we became co-authors of the Quickly series.
Oh, how wonderful.
So it is, and she's my dearest friend. So, okay, so we wrote our first book, and it became quite a success, and we were very excited about it. And then we thought, okay, now we have to write a second book. And Quickly, of course, is our character. In the first book, Quickly is just a staid character. In the second book, we decided it would be fun if Quickly became animated. And we had to have an adventure for him. So then we thought, well, this would be cool. He could have an adventure, and then maybe we could get some chefs to give us some wonderful pancake recipes. So now we have 2 books in one, really. Okay. But not realizing how incredible it would be to have the recipes, but then you have to have a cookbook editor. And that was quite a surprise to us, because I would go out and ask chefs for pancake recipes, and they would give me pancake recipes for 60 people. And then you have to become a mathematician along with an editor.
Yeah.
So anyway, we started, and I was very happy to meet along the way Chef Jacques Pepin.
Isn't he wonderful? Yes.
He is. And I asked him, by chance, I mean, this was at Pebble Beach Food and Wine, if there was any way that he could give me a pancake recipe for our book. And he took a look at the galley proof, wasn't fully finished then, and he looked at it and he said, my granddaughter would love this book.
Oh.
And I said, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And so Chef Jacques gave me the first recipe, and then it started, of course. I started opening the doors, and luckily meeting all these wonderful chefs, and including you, of course, who gave me a fabulous recipe for the book. Would you hold that up too?
Yes, yes.
But your recipe, again, gives some history of your background.
Yes.
And your family.
Yeah, it became a tradition in our more senior years, which was perfect because it gathered everybody together around the family talking about ideas. But anyway, continue on, dear Quickly and his
Quickly
adventures.
Never would we've ever believed when my brother was 4 that Quickly was going to be the star of books. At any rate, so then we had our second book. And our second book won many honors, including the Paris Book Festival.
What a place, Paris. I mean, the food capital. Oh, perfect.
Exactly. So Paris,
yes.
It was wonderful. And we have one, as I said, we went London, New York, and Miriam and I went to New York to get our award for
how wonderful.
For Quickly in New York, which was wonderful. And so now we have our second book, and then we thought, okay, in our second book, Quickly goes on his adventure, he goes to Spatula Camp.
Oh.
Okay. So he and his friend, he meets his friend Brodie, the back turner, and the pancake back turner person, Spatula, and he meets him, and they find their way to Spatula Camp, of course, just by coincidence. And at Spatula Camp, there are spatulas of every size, shape, color, and they all become very good friends, which leads us to, okay, for another book, Quickly can meet one of the spatulas that he met, can take him on another adventure.
Isn't that fabulous?
So it worked out just fine. The planning was there. And so in the third book, Quickly gets to go on safari with Pawnee, the spatula.
Is he the back burner spatula?
No, Pawnee's a new spatula.
Oh, a new one, okay.
And Pawnee is a guide. He's a South African safari guide. And Pawnee takes Quickly and his friend Pandora, who was also in the second book. Thank you.
Clever.
Pandora. And on an adventure to meet the animals of South Africa. But of course, they are in search of a pancake recipe. So the theme continues.
How wonderful.
So
pancakes all throughout.
Pancakes all throughout. And this book is a book for little kids, children 3 to 9, and it's an alphabet book about the animals of South Africa that
Isn't
Quickly
that wonderful?
And his friends find along their way. It's been wonderful. And here in front of us,
the safari
are Quickly, Pandora, and Pawnee on their travels in South Africa.
Oh, isn't that fabulous?
We had the drawing first, and then we were so lucky to be able to actually find the car.
So when is Hollywood going to be knocking at your door, at Quickly's door?
Wouldn't that be fun? It's interesting that I just have to share this with you.
Oh, sure.
That after we finished the third book, I decided that we should have a coloring book. I have a fabulous, fabulous illustrator, Dan Seward. Chasen Mathams did the first book and a half, and then Dan filled in on the cookbook section and became the illustrator of this book. And when the book was all done, I said to Dan, okay, this is what I'd like you to do. Take all the color out of the pictures. He said, what are you talking about? I said, I want to do a coloring book.
Oh.
And so we did Quickly Safari Adventure coloring and activity book.
Well, how perfect with the teacher. You know, that's what you do. This couldn't be better. Oh, my goodness.
So we did
My
that.
grandkids are already grown up now. I'll have to wait for the great ones.
Oh, that's okay. It'll be around.
Oh, what a life. And plus, when I was thinking of the awards, because there's a whole list more that you listed, so you'll
Actually,
have to...
this book, S is for Safari, won a Mom's Choice Award.
Aww.
And that is very, very amazing honor. It's honoring excellence in friendly family media. This was very, very exciting for Miriam and I.
Well, what I'm picturing is the frame within the frame that quickly would want to see all of his awards around. Don't you think that he just gets hung up on his board of his dream board, like Don Galante was talking about? Anyway.
Yeah, it's quite amazing, and we have been very, very successful, and we're very blessed. And of course, Quickly's next adventure.
Yes, yes. Do tell, do tell.
Quickly is going into space.
That's right.
Yes.
That's
now, our
right.
first, we actually have 2 books that we're thinking about and that are in the works. The first book will be Quickly Getting Ready for Space, and understanding that you can't do this quickly.
The double meaning.
That's right. You have to really plan with your effort and your patience and your learning, and it's a life lesson. And eventually he's going to be successful. And then the second part of it will be Quickly in Space.
Isn't that fat? And I would think maybe, I mean, do I dare say that maybe there should be a coloring book with that too?
Why not? Of course.
Yes.
All you have to do is take out the color.
Exactly, and you get 2 wonderful products. And I always loved coloring books, well, also the blank page, because both my parents were artists, but not everyone can draw what they want, and coloring books are just such a wonderful tool for allowing you to pick and choose your own colors. And I want to be a kid all over again.
Well, even adults are doing coloring books, of course.
Well, when you shared the book with me about the pancake idea, this was no longer a child's story. It's something that involved adults. It involved all of us to have fun with ourselves and with our kids or grandkids or friends or even organizations.
It's absolutely true. If you remember, and I know of course you do, that we did a Tiffany.
I was just thinking about that. Go ahead.
Yeah, when you cooked the pancakes, and it was
in this gorgeous jewelry store. Oh my
beautiful
gosh.
Tiffany's in Carmel, and it was just fabulous because it worked so beautifully. Everyone came out. We served pancakes. We talked about Quickly. Everyone received a book and breakfast.
Yes,
at Tiffany's
exactly.
with Wendy Brodie.
Well, really, I got to be next to Quickly. The star. But that was just so much fun. And gosh, Jeryl, I can't wait for the new books to come out. And I just enjoyed his involvement all along the way. Thank you so much for coming and sharing this. And we should also say that you can get these on Amazon.
Yes.
I'm sure other local bookstores around.
There are local bookstores that have them. And yes, you can. But I want to thank you so much for having me on, for letting me share my story. It's partly your story too, you know.
Yes.
It's just so fun to be here and to...
But thanks for reminding us that we can always create a tradition with its family or friends. So thank you.
And that's the message. It's write down those family stories because they are the treasure of life.
Yes, perfect.
Thank you so much.